Listen, your bank account, it rarely outgrows your identity. Let's dive right into this explainer and unpack exactly why that is.
Look, everyone wants better results. We all want the freedom, the wealth, the options, right? But here is the harsh reality. Very few people actually put in the work to become a better person. Because the life you really want, it requires a completely different version of you than the one sitting here watching this today.
You've got to read when others scroll, learn when others complain, and build when others wait. Think about it. Every single small habit you do today is casting a vote for the person you're becoming tomorrow. Because confidence isn't just born, right? It's earned. And discipline absolutely isn't a talent. It's a decision. And it's a decision you have to make over and over and over again.
And here's the secret. Success doesn't chase the most talented person in the room. No way. It follows the most consistent. When you start stacking those boring, everyday choices, you transform into someone of immense, undeniable value.
And you know what happens when you become that valuable? Opportunities actually start finding you. Your income grows, and most importantly, your freedom grows. It creates this incredible cascading effect across your entire life.
Everything changes, simply because you changed first. So let's transition a bit and look at the actual psychology and the hard systems behind building that wealth and building that new identity.
All right, Section 1, the invisible game, getting wealthy versus staying wealthy.
We're completely obsessed with stories of people who quote-unquote made it. You know, the hot startup founder, the overnight crypto millionaire. But we completely ignore the fact that getting rich and staying rich are two completely different skill sets. Just look at Mike Tyson's financial timeline. Back in the late 90s, he was arguably one of the greatest boxers alive, pulling in over $400 million. I mean, he seemed literally unstoppable, but what did he actually do with it? He bought mega mansions, exotic tigers, fleets of luxury cars, and literally a $2 million bathtub. By 2003, he wasn't just broke, he was bankrupt and $23 million in the hole. A massive influx of money will collapse instantly if we don't have the identity and the discipline to actually hold on to it.
Because here's the thing, getting wealthy requires taking bold risks. You need extreme optimism. You got to negotiate hard and make really aggressive bets just to get a seat at the table. But staying wealthy, that requires the exact opposite. It requires avoiding risk. It requires practicing humility and knowing exactly when to stop gambling. Think about Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX. He built a $26 billion fortune by taking massive, crazy risks, but then he just kept playing that same aggressive game. He over-leveraged, got greedy, and lost the whole shebang. Now compare that to someone like Warren Buffett, who's sitting on over $100 billion. Buffett's strategy is all about cautious, long-term survival. He literally hates losing money more than he loves making it. If you can just survive long enough, the wealth basically takes care of itself. Moving on to Section 2, buying back your freedom, the real currency of success.
So, if staying wealthy is the ultimate goal, we really have to reframe what we're actually doing with our cash. I want to ask you this directly, right now. What is more valuable than money itself? Most people genuinely think the whole point of money is just delayed spending. Like we save up just so we can buy a much nicer car later, or go on some insane dream vacation, or flex a brand new watch on social media to get applause from people we barely even know. But the reality, the absolute most valuable thing money can buy is options.
And I absolutely love this concept right here, the FU Fund. It's essentially a pile of savings that gives you complete control over your own time. Picture this. Imagine being stuck in a totally toxic workplace with a boss from hell, working crazy, endless hours. If you're living paycheck to paycheck with zero savings, quitting simply isn't an option. You are literally trapped. But if you have even just 6 months of living expenses saved up in that fund, you can just walk away. No panic, no stress. Your landlord drastically raises your rent? You have options. You're in a toxic relationship? You can leave. We don't actually need to be millionaires to buy back our freedom. We just need a strategic safety net.
Which brings us to Section 3, Wealth is Completely Invisible, the Secret of Ronald Read.
This idea of buying freedom perfectly sets up our next point, and it centers around a gas station janitor named Ronald Read. Now, Ronald was just a regular guy. He worked at a gas station, then spent years as a janitor. He drove an old beat-up car and literally wore the same clothes every single day. Everyone who knew him probably thought he was barely scraping by. But then, in 2014, he passed away at 92 years old, and he left behind this staggering, entirely invisible fortune, $8 million. People absolutely lost their minds. How on earth did a janitor have $8 million? Well, while everyone else around him was busy flexing, Ronald Read was quietly, invisibly building true wealth.
So the really crucial takeaway here is that looking rich and actually being rich are two entirely different games. Looking rich, that's incredibly easy to do. Literally anyone can swipe a credit card, finance a Ferrari for 300 grand, and buy expensive designer clothes. But when you see that Ferrari on the street, you don't actually know if the driver is wealthy. You just know they spent $300,000. And honestly, they might be drowning in high-interest debt. Being rich, on the other hand, is invisible. It's the money you don't spend. It's the freedom you build, and the investments quietly compounding in the background while you sleep. Some people buy things, but the truly successful, they buy freedom.
Let's dive into Section 4. Systems always beat motivation. The playbook for execution.
Now, how do we actually bridge the psychology of money with real-world execution? We do it through systems, because systems will always beat raw motivation. When we're building our systems, especially financial ones, we have to account for human emotion. Most traditional finance advice treats money like cold hard math. A perfectly rational strategy on a spreadsheet might tell you to put 100% of your money in the stock market and never touch it, since historically it has the highest returns. But what actually happens when the market suddenly crashes 40%? You panic, you sell, you lock in those massive losses. That mathematically perfect plan completely fails because at the end of the day, we are emotional human beings. Instead, we need a strategy that might be technically flawed but is entirely reasonable. A strategy that allows us to keep some cash on the side so we can actually sleep at night during a huge downturn, which prevents us from making those catastrophic emotional mistakes. You need a reasonable system you can actually stick to over decades.
And if we're going to build those systems, we have to accept some really hard, contrarian truths. First, nobody is coming to save you. Second, motivation is a lie we tell ourselves just to delay starting. Waiting to feel ready is exactly how you lose the game. Third, consistency is the ultimate cheat code. It beats raw talent every single time. And most importantly, amateurs constantly chase motivation, while the pros, they build systems. We are never going to be motivated 100% of the time, so we must learn to be disciplined.
So here is your exact blueprint for execution. Step 1, set your direction by defining your identity-based goals. Don't just say, I want to save money. Say, I am becoming a wealth builder. Step 2, build the systems. Automate your investments so you don't even have to think about transferring that $500 into your FU fund every month. Remember, goals only set the direction, but systems actually cover the distance. And step 3, track consistently. You have to measure what matters over the long haul, because unmonitored systems will always eventually break down. Finally, Section 5, the long game, building true wealth.
At the end of the day, getting richer and becoming more disciplined is ultimately about playing a game you can actually survive in. It's not about the overnight flex. It's about making those quiet, seemingly boring choices today that will completely dictate the person you'll be 5 years from now. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. Really look at your habits, look at your spending, look at your daily routines, and ask yourself, are you just building a facade for others to applaud, or are you doing the invisible work of changing yourself first? Because the moment you change your identity, the results will inevitably follow. Take action today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.